Hey guys, YouTube 100 here. Okay, and in this video I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the Dark Phoenix movie. So, yeah, I actually did go see the movie today, so yeah, in this video I'm just going to talk about what I actually did think about the movie. Now, as usual, this video is going to contain some spoilers for the movie, so yeah, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you may not want to watch this video until you have, otherwise, if you don't care about spoilers, yeah, you can just watch this video and yeah, just not be surprised by anything you actually do see whenever you do see the movie. Alright? So, Dark Phoenix. So, yeah, of course, this is, another, X-Men movie from Fox, and apparently this is actually, Fox's last, main X-Men film that they will be doing. And since, of course, Disney has acquired, 21st Century Fox, and now, all of Fox's X-Men properties are going. Well, all of Fox's Marvel properties are going to be back with Marvel, and they will be integrated somehow into the MCU. So, yeah, this is the final main X-Men film from Fox. They still do have one more X-Men film coming out next year with the New Mutants film, and that's going to be the actual last X-Men film from Fox. So, yeah. But yeah, this is the last main one. So, yeah. So, apparently, this film, it hasn't really been doing too well with critics. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes so far, this film only has a 22% score on the tomato meter. Yeah, the critic consensus for this film is Dark Phoenix ends an era of the X-Men franchise by taking a second stab at adapting a classic comics arc with deeply disappointing results. So I guess I can kind of understand why critics are kind of feeling that way, because yeah, this is the second time that Fox has taken a shot at doing the Phoenix story arc. Of course, the first time they did it was in X-Men 3, he with Jean Grey, and then yeah, now they tried to do it again here. And yeah, I would probably agree that this Phoenix story really isn't Fox's strongest element when it does come to the X-Men films, because yeah, of course, everybody has just rifted to death about Last Stand, about how much how much that film really did just totally wreck everything that had gone on in the first two X-Men films, how much everything has been was built in the franchise, and just how everything just totally came crashing down in The Last Stand. And so yeah, so I guess because the first time it really didn't go so well, I can't really say that I am surprised that Fox did want to take another shot at it, because Fox did actually say that, because around Tomatoes it says, after X-Men Days of Future Past erased the events of X-Men The Last Stand from the series timeline, Simon Kinberg, the director of this film, expressed interest in a new adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga that would be more faithful than the previous attempt with The Last Stand, which was not well received. So, yeah, so I guess I can understand why they would actually want to try the story arc again to do a more faithful a more faithful version of it. But so yeah. And yeah, with this, so what they ended up doing in this film with the Phoenix story, it was pretty different than what they did with it in The Last Stand, which I will get to in this video. But yeah, as far as how this film goes, I do I guess I can see why there are the critics really are being kind of harsh on this film, or why critics are feeling the way that they are about this film. And yeah, so as of now, this is the lowest scored X-Men film on Rotten Tomatoes, and I guess would agree that this is probably like one of the weaker X-Men films. I'm not sure if I can actually go so far to say this is the absolute worst X-Men film, but I did overall think that this film. I am glad that I did see this film. Like, it was an interesting thing that they ended up doing with this film. Of course, like this film acts as like another sequel to like this these prequel X-Men films with like First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. Yeah, this film does act as another sequel to those films. And yeah, overall, I do think that in continuation with these films, I do like what it does. I mean, yeah, you still do have pretty much like the all the all the um all the recurring actors back for this film. Like this film still does have um you do have James McAvoy still as Professor X. There's Michael Fassbender as Magneto. There's Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult, Sophie Turner, Ty Sheridan, and Cody Smith McPhee. Yeah, Evan Peters. So yeah, you still do have like all the actors, the cast from like pretty much the all the prior films in these prequel films, like from with First Class and Apocalypse and everything. Yeah, they all are back in this film. And so yeah, so I do like that it is like still like in good continuation from the prior films. Yeah, and yeah, everyone in this film overall they do overall pretty good in this film. Like I didn't really see anybody in this film that I absolutely like hated their performances. So yeah, I can't really say that like anybody really did like overall bad in this film. So yeah, the cast overall was still good in the film, especially like James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. I mean, yeah, they've been good in these films ever since First Class. So yeah, they haven't disappointed. Yeah, and of course, by the title of the film, Dark Phoenix, this film does like the focus of this film is on Jean Grey. Yeah, and in this film, like I was just saying, it does like show like how she actually did yet like how she actually did develop the Phoenix persona, and how she actually was like ended up actually having that all those Phoenix powers. So yeah, and it was interesting what they did with the Phoenix in this film. Like I said, it is like overall like pretty different than what they did with the Phoenix in The Last Stand. In The Last Stand, there was no actual real ever did show like any origins, like how Jean Grey actually did like possess the Phoenix persona. Yeah, it just like showed that apparently she had ended up releasing the persona after she had sacrificed herself at the end of the second film. So yeah, so it was overall like pretty vague in terms of explanation in Last Stand. But yeah, in Last Stand, like how like Jean Grey had the Phoenix persona, like it was just like the Phoenix persona like just ended up like really overtaking her, and she like really did like become like a totally different person, and she really did like act really evil, and she was actually attacking other X-Men. Like, of course, like she killed Cyclops and she attacked Wolverine, and like she also ended up joining forces with Magneto and his Brotherhood. So yeah, so she was overall like the Phoenix persona really did like actually overtake her and did actually make her kind of evil in The Last Stand. In this film, it is pretty different. Like this film, like I said, it does actually like show how she actually did possess the Phoenix persona, and it is overall like pretty different with how she actually does like have her Phoenix powers in this film, or her Phoenix mutation, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. In this film, like what it is like how she actually ends up possessing the Phoenix persona is the X-Men in this film, like all the X-Men that are actually part of the group at this time, like everybody that was like part of the group in Apocalypse, of course, was like um Cyclops, Mystique, Beast, Jean, Nightcrawler, Storm, Quicksilver. Yeah, them. Yeah, they like ended up like going off on a mission to free or save a a like a well, yeah, they ended up responding to a distress signal from the Endeavor, and apparently, like all the astronauts, ended up like being trapped on their ship, and so, oh yeah, the X-Men then like save all the astronauts, but then as there was one of them that like ended up like being stuck in there, and like with all um the solar flare energy that was actually like critically damaging the shuttle. Like Jean, of course, like had to use all of her telekinesis powers to try to hold it off long enough to get that last astronaut out. But yeah, like eventually, like she couldn't hold anymore, and all the solar flare energy ended up hitting Jean. But yeah, she ended up like absorbing all of the energy into her body, and at first she appeared dead, but then like it showed that she actually did survive, and then over time it did show like her psychic powers were like greatly amplified. Right, but then yeah, it showed that like anytime like she ended up becoming angry, like the Phoenix persona would like be ended up like being triggered on her, but it was really different than what it was doing in the Last Stand. What it did here is just like when she would get angry and stuff, like the Phoenix persona would just like overtake her and just like blast everyone that was near her back and stuff. Like there was a point in this film where like she was visiting her father, because yeah, I guess I do actually have to like go back to like talk a little bit about the opening of this film, because yeah, in the opening of this film it shows that Jean is about like yeah, it's shown when she was just a little girl, like around 8 years old in like 1975. As she's like in the car with her parents, she accidentally like caused a car accident with her telekinesis, which her parents were presumed to be dead. But then, and yeah, and then here when it shows that she went to like actually show that, well, we're getting a little tongue tied here. I'm sorry. Yeah, she then like went out to actually discover that her father was actually still alive. Yeah, and also like in the opening of this film, after like that car accident where Jean was told that her parents were killed, it also shows that Professor Xavier ended up like taking her in and bringing her to the uh, Mutant Academy, and he also ended up blocking the accident from her memories. And then yeah, it also like showed that that block that was placed in Jean's mind by Xavier ended up being destroyed, which is how she actually did remember her father and ended up visiting him. And then yeah, she also like learned that her father actually did hand her over to Professor Xavier, which is why Professor Xavier ended up taking her in, and apparently he actually never went looking for her. Yeah, and then all that then just ended up I'm just getting like putting Jean under so much stress, and then yeah, it ended up like releasing the Phoenix persona, and ended up attacking her father. And then as the other mutants then like traveled there to try to take her back, heck, like the Phoenix persona like took her over again, and then like other mutants like Cyclops, Quicksilver, and Mystique all tried to like calm her down, but yeah, the Phoenix persona just ended up taking over, and then yeah, she ended up accidentally blasting Mystique back and ended up killing her. So yeah, and this is like another thing that I want to talk a little bit about. Yeah, so yeah, right there, Mystique ended up being killed, and Yeah, this is a problem that I really do like kind of have with these prequel films, like particularly with Days of Future Past, with what that film did. How, of course, like it basically pretty much erased the events of The Last Stand, and so yeah, it's as if that never happened, and history really was like rewritten altogether, pretty much in these films, and it's just making it get like it seem like just now, like all the events of like the actual original X-Men trilogy, it's as if that really never happened because yeah, Mystique is killed here after she was already in the original three films, and of course, like what happened to her in The Last Stand, and it's just like they're just totally like rewriting history and just trying to make it seem like as if like the original trilogy now never happened and it's just like totally void now. So it's just like they're actually like just trying to like totally like how should I put this? They're like trying to totally like rewrite the history altogether and just make it seem like just there isn't the original trilogy around anymore. So yeah, that's one of the problems I have, especially with things like this, with Mystique actually getting killed in this film. Yeah, and then yeah, and then over time, like because of like like a Beast was like putting all this blame with Mystique getting killed and with Jean getting with like everything that's happened to Jean and um all this other stuff that's happened. Um um Beast is now kind of like feeling that Professor X is like very manipulative of Jean's memories, and he just feels that Xavier just betrayed him and the other X-Men. And then yeah, and then eventually over time then Jean eventually ended up traveling to the mutant refugee island of Genosha, where she tried to seek help from Eric, aka Magneto, in controlling her powers, but like after a confrontation with the U.S. military forces, was like tasked to actually bring her back to the academy. Academy, like she ended up engaging in combat with them, and like the Phoenix persona once again like was unleashed, and she ended up blasting all the uh military forces back, and she was actually going to cause their chopper to actually crash down, but Eric was able to actually hold it up enough for everybody to get out of there. And then yeah, Eric just ended up turning Jean away as well. But then eventually, after Jean came across like a shape shifting alien, and Vuk, like Vuk was like very manipulative towards Jean, and like was just like it trying to actually well, yeah, she was very manipulative towards the Phoenix. Phoenix just like trying to like really turn her away from the X-Men and like all of Eric's uh, mutants and everything. But then over time, then after Eric had learned that Jean had killed Mystique, then like he along with Beast and some other of um, Eric's mutant refugees, they ended up like joining forces to try to find Jean and kill her. But then Professor X, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and Storm then travel to try to find Jean as well and try to stop Magneto, Beast, and the others from killing Jean. And then a fight ensued between both factions, and eventually, after Eric was able to infiltrate the building Jean was in, he ended up being overpowered by Jean's abilities, and then yeah, Jean actually like ended up causing Magneto's helmet just to shatter after just squeezing it, and then eventually like after uh yeah Professor Xavier then just convinced Jean to read his memories, and that all allowed like her normal personality to resurface. Uh, Surface, like, of course, like Jean just felt remorseful of everything that she had done, and then just asked him, look, to take the force from her. But yeah, it turns out that if the Phoenix persona and all the force was actually removed from Jean, it would actually kill her. So yeah, Professor X and Scott were actually able to stop the all the force from being fully absorbed from Jean. But eventually, then they ended up being captured by the U.S. government, and then were just like ended up being transported to a secret containment facility. And after Vuk and her forces ended up attacking, they all then were able to fight them off. But then, yeah, and then eventually, then Jean's personality was able to gain control of the force within her during the battle. But Vuk then was still trying to drain Jean of the force. But then all of Jean's potential then was unleashed, and she was able to kill Vuk before. Then she just ended up disappearing into space. Okay, so yeah, it's like she just escaped from it, and even then, we really don't actually know what really happens to her. We don't know if yeah, we didn't know if she was okay, if she had died. Yeah, we really didn't know what actually happened to her. But then, yeah, then the movie then just as it ended, it just showed the school ended up being renamed and after Jean, and then and Beast ended up becoming the new dean of the academy after Xavier ended up retiring after decades of fighting for the mutant rights. And then as he was settling in Paris, then Eric ended up coming along and reuniting with Xavier, and then it just showed then they were playing chess with each other. But then yeah, then it just panned up to the sky, and then just showed a flaming phoenix appear. So yeah, we get all this going on with the school being renamed, and now Professor X ending up retiring from the Mutant Academy and everything, and running the X-Men. So yeah, it's just yeah. So we get all this. This is just what I was talking about earlier. How just there's all this stuff going on when we already had all the stuff in the original trilogy, which takes place is supposed to actually be set after this. And considering even in Days of Future Past, we did have that one moment at the end of the film where it did show it was back in the present day with where it had all the original cast members back after all the events in The Last Stand and everything had been rewritten with still with Cyclops and Jean being still alive. And yeah, it's just all the events in The Last Stand never happened, and everything was back to the way it should have been. And yeah, it showed that we still did have all the adults there with the original cast. So yeah, it did show that they still were all around after that, and it did show Professor Xavier was still running the academy. So yeah, this is just the big problem with these films, how they're just giving us so much discontinuity, and especially with a lot of the stuff that does happen in this film. So I guess this is probably one of the other major criticisms that this movie will probably get, and probably one of the other reasons why the critics are being the way they are on this film. It's just because there's a lot of a lot of plot holes and continuity errors going on that in the film. So it's just becoming really jumbled up. So yeah, but overall, while there are elements that really didn't really are not making a lot of sense and are really messing up the whole storyline of these films. Overall, like I said, I am glad I did see the film. I did think that it was still worth a watch, despite the fact that there was a lot of stuff that really wasn't done totally right in this film. I did still like it, as far as in continuation with the story arcs from the previous films in these prequel films like First Class and Days of Future Past and Apocalypse and stuff. So I do like the film in that sense. It's just that with all the discontinuity and stuff, and especially like with this being the final main X-Men film that Fox is doing, I really don't think that this was really the best way for them to really wrap it up and stuff. So I really felt that Fox probably could have done much better with the film, but yeah, for what they did do with the film, I can't really like say it is like actually their strongest thing that they've done with the X-Men. Of course not. I mean, I would probably place this in probably like the bottom three X-Men films, along with like probably like Last Stand and of course X-Men Origins Wolverine. Yeah, I'd probably place it like down in that area. So yeah, not really one of the greatest X-Men films ever made. But if you are curious enough, like if you can get past like all the continuity issues and like what they actually did do with this film, like fall like the Phoenix story arc once again, it really wasn't handled all that well. If you can get over that, like if you can like still just sit down and just appreciate like what this film is able to do, like with the overall the good performances, and yeah, the fight scene like with the X-Men against like Magneto's faction, it is actually like a pretty cool scene to watch. So yeah, I can't really say that this film really has nothing to offer. So if you're curious enough, and if you can really get past it, and if you really are just curious to see like what Fox did like do to really like wrap up the main films with the X-Men franchise, I guess it is worth a viewing. So yeah, like I said, I am glad that I did see it, and if you are curious enough, I think it is at least worth a viewing. Just don't really be expecting like any like true classic, especially like by X-Men standards from Fox. Like with some films they have done, like with the X-Men 2 and Days of Future Past and even like films like a First Class and the original X-Men film. Yeah, they have this film really doesn't compare to like what Fox was able to do with those films. So yeah, but I do think it is still at least worth a viewing. So yeah, all I can really just say is if you're curious enough, check it out and draw your own conclusion to it. So yeah, and like I said, this is the final main X-Men film Fox will be doing, and yeah, but they still do have one more film coming out next year with the New Mutants film. So I'm really not sure what to expect from that, or like what it actually will be about. Will it be like a next generation of mutants of the X-Men? Yeah, I really don't know. But yeah, regardless of what they do with that, that will be Fox's final X-Men film, and then of course and then now with a Fox back over with Marvel now acquiring all the rights to Fox's Marvel properties, I am really looking forward to seeing what Marvel is planning to do with the franchises. And of course, like not just with the X-Men, but with Fantastic Four and Deadpool and all of Fox's other Marvel properties. So I am extremely curious to see what they will do with all these properties, and I am looking forward to seeing them integrated into the MCU. Alright, so that's really the best way that I can put it. So, yeah, like I said with this film, not really any classic or anything, but if you're curious enough, I think it is at least worth a viewing. Alright, so that's my thoughts on Dark Phoenix. So I hope you guys did enjoy what I had to say about the film. So, yeah. So, and so for my next video, like I told you guys, in my last video, I would talk about the Super Showdown event that did take place this past Friday. So yeah, my next video, I will actually be giving my thoughts about that show and what I did think about it. So that's going to be coming up next. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.